So I'm here to recommend one to my roommates. I don't know if I can focus on this adapter ring. It's the brand of Leina. The brand of Leina. And the adapter ring is made of all metal material in terms of feel. It's a metal ring with no lenses in it. Of course, I have also bought lenses, focus reduction and brightening, but it is not very good to use. If there is no lens, it is an adapter ring, and there is no lens in an adapter ring. Everyone can see that it is such an iron ring, but don't underestimate this iron ring. And as far as the Leina adapter ring is concerned, I have bought several, including Fuji cameras with lenses, including Olympus cameras, including one with a Canon camera. Of course, I also have others. I bought several of them for experiments at that time. But this one belongs to this kind of moderate price, then it's a good one. You have to consider a few points to buy the adapter ring. The first point, we'll talk about the second point about the degree of matching with the camera later. You don't have to look inside the ring one by one. It's good to have paint inside. It's still shiny. It's not a good thing. You'd better be black inside. It has the effect of extinction. I said at least you have to be clear about these 2 points. So now I put my model because our roommate asked this question that the Olympus OM lens was transferred to the Nikon Z5 camera. We have Z5, we have Z6. So I'm going to turn it to the Z6 camera, and let's take a look. Take this Z6 camera and I'll spin it down. Look, everybody, turn it to find it. Red dot, turn to Z6 cameras. What is the result of turning? As you can see, our focal plane is in this position and the lens is virtually here. I haven't added the lens yet. Here, the bayonet of our lens is extended from this position to this position, and the distance from it to the film should be exactly for 6 mm, neither more nor less. Then there is a requirement for the processing accuracy of the transfer ring. If some inferior adapter rings are bought for 20 or 30 yuan and installed, then the accuracy of processing may be less. Right there, even if you miss a millimeter, there will be a big problem in imaging. So, when we put it in, install the adapter ring of Leina. What I need to do next is that you don't move the bayonet with the lens to the front. Extend the distance. Then I need to put the... I adjusted a small lens. I'll transfer it up. That. There's a complete setup of what we're talking about. And it looks good. At least the little one looks good. I put it as an Olympus 50.8. A very compact lens. And of course, I have some subsidiary lenses. This is an ultra-wide-angle lens of Tenglong's 17mm f3.5, which is huge and big at first sight. Let's have a look after it is. It's loaded. Look, it's 17mm. It must be based on the ring f3.5. I'll take it off. It's still too big. Replace it with it's light to hold. Let's talk about the small lens. So what are you going to do after you have these? In fact, after we have this collocation, I can turn on the following work. But please note that this is a purely manual lens. There are no electronic contacts in our adapter ring, just a very precise metal ring. This is how I describe here. Of course, without a purely manual lens with electronic contacts, our camera will use focusing in the process, but to be purely manual, we need to make some brief settings for the camera. Because of the time, I will not say more today. I point to these points. Then the camera must be able to recognize this lens. And this lens has no electronic contacts. and I'm supposed to have no direct communication of information, so you have to set it as a non-CPU lens. The non-CPU CPU is called the central processing unit in the compute, so we calculate that it is also an intelligent device. If our CPU has electronic contact, it can also communicate with some info. We can set it to peak focus. Of course, many Nikon cameras have now the firmware upgrade. In the future, some of them are called contour. In fact, after your object is handed in, you will hold everyone's or a blue circle like a god. Of course, you can also focus at, especially when shooting macro. Zoom in and focus. I magnify it by 1 to 0 times or even higher. This means that you have to make some settings for the camera so after you finish these settings, you can take pictures with it. In order to do this, I specially installed it on the 17 f3.5 ultra-wide-angle lens of Tenglong that I just mentioned and took some pictures of the scenery. I'll attach it to the end. Let's see how it works. Alright, let's make a summary at the end. Say long flange distance system lens. Olympus OM flange distance for 5mm. Of course, it is much longer than Nikon 16. I said why I had bought several adapter rings. Because I want to connect my old lenses to my Canon camera after I have accumulated some old lenses for many. Put it on my Nikon, put it on my Olympus. In this case, my original investment is not in vain. And manual focus. For people in my age group, if photography is too familiar to photography enthusiasts for so many, it is also very interesting. So the length of the long flange distance system to the body of the short flange distance system. That is to say, a camera body with a short flange distance can theoretically be adapted to. But you have to consider two conditions when you play transfer. The first condition is what we just said. The lens flange distance must be long, because you can add a circle to lengthen the camera in this, which is convenient. Second, the image size of the lens must match or be larger than size of the camera. For example, if I transfer the N4, it is not appropriate to transfer it to the full frame. What is the directive? Dark corners, the photos. Of course, in the past, some cameras were designed to be relative. I met a friend who transferred an Olympus OM lens to Fuji's GFX body to the naked eye. This is an exception. Wow, here's the answer to the question. Is it true that buying an adapter ring in the era of micro single can easily refine? I said it looks true.